A poor little girl holds an old note in the rain and says to the young billionaire, "My mum said she'd be back in 5 minutes. It's taking so long." But when he reads what's written on the note, he is shocked. The rain fell softly over New York that autumn night. Drops slid down the windows of the tall buildings and formed small puddles on the sidewalks. Michael Foster walked unhurriedly, his expensive suit partially protected by a black umbrella. At 40 years old, he had achieved everything the business world could offer: a considerable fortune, a penthouse apartment in one of the city's most exclusive buildings, and the respect of his peers. And yet something was missing. "Another day, more of the same," he muttered to himself, while watching the city lights reflected in the rain puddles. His nighttime walks had become a ritual over the last few months. It was his moment to escape the silence of the empty apartment, to feel something beyond the walls that surrounded him daily. Success had a price, and in Michael's case, that price was loneliness. He turned onto a dimly lit corner, moving away from the buzz of the main avenues. That was when he saw her, a little girl, no more than 4 years old, sitting on the sidewalk beneath the awning of an old building. She wore a soaked red coat and clutched a brown teddy bear, just as wet as she was. Her brown curls clung to her pale face, and her eyes, Michael noticed immediately, looked far bigger than they should on such a small face. Michael slowed his pace. He looked around, expecting to see an adult, someone responsible for her. The street was deserted. "Hey," Michael called, stopping a few feet away so as not to scare her. "Are you okay?" The girl looked up. There were no tears, just an expression of someone too tired of crying. "I'm waiting," she replied in a voice as small as she was. Michael moved a bit closer and crouched down, holding the umbrella over both of them. "Waiting for who?" "Mom said to wait 5 minutes and she'd be right back. She's taking too long." It was then that Michael noticed the crumpled, soggy piece of paper in the girl's hands. It was a note, written in pen that had blurred in the rain but was still legible. "Please take care of my girl. I don't have the means to raise her. I hope someday she can forgive me." A lump formed in Michael's throat. He looked around again, more carefully this time. No sign of anyone moving, no indication that someone was watching or planning to return. "What's your name?" he asked, keeping his voice calm. "Emily." "Emily? That's a pretty name." "I'm Michael." The girl hugged the teddy bear closer to her chest. "Mr. Chocolate is cold," she said, looking at the soaked toy. Michael felt something break inside him. A child abandoned in the rain with only a teddy bear for company. What kind of person would leave a little girl like this? "Emily, have you been here a long time?" She shrugged, a surprisingly grown-up gesture for someone so small. The sun went away, at least a few hours then. Michael glanced at his watch, almost 9 p.m. The temperature kept dropping. Michael studied Emily's face more closely. Despite the cold and the situation, there was no panic in her eyes, only a resigned acceptance that no 4-year-old should know. Her tiny fingers clutched the note as if it were a talisman. "Are you hungry?" he asked. Emily nodded slightly. "Mom said she'd bring food." Michael took a deep breath. The proper thing would be to call the police or social services. That was the standard procedure, what any sensible person would do. Emily would be taken to a temporary shelter while the authorities searched for her mother or relatives. That was the protocol. But something in Emily's gaze made Michael hesitate. Those enormous brown eyes looked at him with a trust he didn't deserve, a hope he didn't want to destroy. "Do you want to go someplace warm until your mom comes back?" he suggested, already knowing he was stepping into complicated territory. Emily looked at the note in her hands, then at Michael, as if evaluating whether he was a good candidate to fulfill the request written there. "Can Mr. Chocolate come too?" Michael smiled, the first genuine smile he'd had in days. "Of course he can. He needs a dry place too." He held out his hand but didn't touch her, waiting for Emily to decide. The girl glanced one more time at the empty street, as if there was still a chance her mom would appear at any moment. Finally, she placed her cold little hand in Michael's. The touch of that small, cold hand was like an electric shock. In that moment, Michael realized he had taken on a responsibility that would change everything. "Let's go," he said, helping her stand. "We'll get you and Mr. Chocolate some dry clothes." A few blocks away, Michael hailed a cab. The driver eyed the drenched child suspiciously, but the extra money Michael offered silenced any questions. In the back seat, Emily sat as close to Michael as possible, seeking warmth. "Where do you live, Emily?" Michael tried to ask, though he suspected a child so young might not know a full address. "With Mom," she answered simply. "And what's your mum's name?" "Mommy Rachel." Michael made a mental note. Rachel. It was a start. "And do you live in a nice house?" Emily shook her head. "We move a lot. Mom says it's an adventure, but I don't like it when it's cold." The cab drove through the city as the rain intensified outside. Michael was thinking quickly about the implications of what he was doing. He had no experience with children, let alone such a delicate situation, but something inside him refused to hand Emily over to the system on that cold night. "Emily, tomorrow we'll try to find your mom, okay? But tonight you'll stay at my apartment. It's a safe and warm place." The girl nodded, still clutching the soaked teddy bear. After a few minutes of silence, she spoke so quietly that Michael almost didn't hear. "Mr. Chocolate likes you." Michael felt a tightness in his chest he couldn't explain. "I like him too," he replied, while the cab headed toward the east side of the city. When they arrived at Michael's building, the night doorman looked surprised at the little girl, but a simple nod from Michael was enough to avoid inconvenient questions. In the mirrored elevator, Emily stared at her own wet reflection. "Do you live in the sky?" she asked as Michael pressed the button for the penthouse. "Almost," he answered with a smile. "You can see a lot of stars when it's not raining." Emily's eyes lit up for the first time that night. The elevator door opened directly into Michael's apartment foyer. The spacious area, with elegant furniture and artwork on the walls, felt even emptier now with the presence of little Emily. Her footsteps left tiny puddles on the light hardwood floor, but Michael didn't mind. "Let's find some dry clothes for you first," he said, noticing the girl shivering. Michael found a t-shirt that served as an improvised dress for Emily. While she changed in the bathroom, insisting she needed privacy, a concept that surprised him coming from someone so small, he set up a spot to dry the teddy bear, using a hairdryer on the lowest setting. When Emily came out of the bathroom, she looked like a different person. Her curls were beginning to dry, gaining volume, and her cheeks had a healthy pink glow. Michael's black t-shirt reached her feet like a fancy gown. "Did Mr. Chocolate take a bath too?" she asked, seeing the teddy bear lying on a towel. "He's drying off. He'll be nice and warm again soon." Michael prepared a sandwich and hot chocolate for Emily, watching with a mix of relief and concern as she ate with the hunger of someone who hadn't seen food in a long time. Between bites, she looked around, taking in the details of the apartment. "Your house is pretty," she commented. "Looks like a hotel." Michael glanced around as if seeing the place for the first time. The penthouse apartment, which had cost him a fortune, suddenly seemed cold and impersonal through Emily's eyes. There were no family photos, no scattered toys, or any sign that this space was truly a home. "Thank you," he replied, feeling strangely self-conscious. After she finished eating, Emily seemed to battle sleep, her eyes growing heavy and opening again at an increasingly slower pace. "Let's find you a place to sleep," Michael said, guiding her to the guest room that had never been used. The king-size bed made Emily look even smaller as she lay down. Michael covered her with a soft comforter and placed Mr. Chocolate, now dry and fluffy again, beside her. "Michael," Emily called just as he was about to leave the room. "Yes. Do you think Mom will find us here?" The question hit Michael like a punch. What should he say? That he suspected her mother had no intention of returning, that the note indicated a deliberate abandonment. Instead, he chose a gentler truth. "Tomorrow we'll look for her, okay? Now get some rest." Emily seemed to accept the answer. Her eyes closed, and within minutes her breathing had become steady and deep. Michael stayed there, watching her sleep, feeling a responsibility he had never experienced before. Back in the living room, Michael took the damp note he had placed in his pocket. The simple words, "Please take care of my girl," carried an enormous weight. Who was Rachel, and what circumstances had led her to leave her daughter like this? Was it truly abandonment, or was there something more complicated behind it? Emily didn't seem mistreated or neglected, just lost. Michael picked up his phone, his finger hovering over the keypad. Should he call the police now, social services? He could imagine what would happen. Emily would be taken to a temporary shelter, frightened and confused. The system would take over, and he'd probably never know what became of her. No, at least not tonight. He put the phone aside and went to the window. The rain had lessened but still fell at a steady pace. Somewhere out there was Rachel, Emily's mother. What had driven her to leave her daughter in the rain with just a note and a teddy bear? Michael returned to the bedroom to check on Emily once more. She was sleeping peacefully, one hand firmly clutching Mr. Chocolate. Seeing her there, so small in his large bed, stirred a protective feeling inside him that he hadn't known he was capable of. Tomorrow he would do the right thing, take the necessary steps to locate Emily's mother or contact the appropriate authorities. But tonight, he would keep Emily safe and warm. Michael sat in the armchair in the corner of the room, watching the girl sleep. The tightness in his chest he'd felt before had turned into something else, a calm certainty that, regardless of what happened next, his life had changed forever that rainy night. And for the first time in a long while, Michael did not feel alone. Michael woke up to a gentle tap on his shoulder. He opened his eyes, confused for a few seconds, until he saw Emily standing beside the armchair where he'd fallen asleep. The digital clock on the bedside table read 11:45 p.m. "I can't sleep," she whispered, holding Mr. Chocolate. Her big eyes reflected the soft glow of the bedside lamp. Michael shifted in the armchair, still groggy from being woken up. "What's wrong?" he asked, his voice husky. Emily shook her head, making her curls bounce a little. "The bed is too big. I feel lost in it." Michael smiled, understanding. The king-size bed in the guest room was indeed disproportionate for someone so tiny. "Let's fix that," he said, getting up. With Emily watching intently, Michael rearranged the room. He pushed the armchair closer to the bed and used extra pillows and cushions to create a cozy nook in the center of the mattress. He added another small lamp, giving the space a warm, comforting glow. "What do you think?" he asked, stepping back so Emily could see his creation. The girl approached, examining the setup seriously. "Mr. Chocolate approves," she finally declared, climbing onto the bed and settling into the center of the pillow nest. Michael sat at the edge of the bed, unsure what to do next. In his world of business and meetings, he had never needed to put a child to bed. "Do you want me to stay until you fall asleep?" he asked hesitantly. Emily nodded, pulling the comforter up to her chin. "Mom always tells stories." Michael swallowed hard. Storytelling was not in his repertoire. He looked around, searching for inspiration, and his eyes landed on the tablet on the bedside table. "Let me see if I can find a good story here." He picked up the tablet and quickly searched for children's stories. He found a classic, The Princess and the Frog, with colorful illustrations. He settled next to Emily, who immediately scooted closer, resting her head on his arm so she could see the pictures better. "Ready for the princess's adventure?" Emily nodded, her eyes already glued to the screen. Michael began reading, his deep voice taking on inflections he didn't know he was capable of. With each page, he felt Emily relaxing by his side. When he reached the part where the princess finally kisses the frog, he realized that the little girl was completely captivated by the story. "Do you think he'll really turn into a prince?" Emily asked, her eyes shining with anticipation. "What do you think?" "I think so. Mom says magic happens when you least expect it." Michael felt a pang in his chest. Who was this Rachel, who could talk about magic to her daughter, despite what he suspected were very difficult circumstances? He continued the story, and when it ended, he closed the tablet and set it aside. Emily still didn't seem ready to sleep. "One more?" she asked in a sleepy but determined voice. "A really short one, then, after that, bedtime." Instead of looking for another story on the tablet, Michael improvised. Once upon a time, there was a star that lived alone in the sky. Every night, she shone as brightly as she could, but she felt sad because she had no companion. Emily listened intently, her eyes beginning to flutter with drowsiness. One day, She saw a girl who was also alone. The girl looked at the sky every night, searching for something special. The star decided to shine just for her, and the girl smiled. From that day on, neither of them felt alone again. When he finished his improvised story, he noticed Emily was struggling to keep her eyes open. "I liked that one," she murmured, snuggling closer. "Did you make it up?" "Yes," Michael admitted, surprised by his own creativity. "Make up another one tomorrow." "I promise." Emily turned on her side, hugging Mr. Chocolate, and within minutes, her breathing indicated she had fallen asleep. Michael remained seated on the edge of the bed, watching her. A strange new feeling spread through his chest. This child, who just hours ago was a stranger in the rain, now slept in his house, trusting him as if she had always belonged there. Carefully, so as not to wake her, Michael stood. He intended to go back to his own bedroom, but something stopped him. What if Emily woke up in the middle of the night in an unfamiliar place? What if she had nightmares or needed something? He made a decision. Returning to the comfortable armchair in the corner of the room, he grabbed a light blanket and settled down. From there, he could see Emily sleeping peacefully in her little nest of pillows. The hours dragged on while Michael stayed awake, thinking, who was he to assume responsibility for a child? His life had always been organized around work, goals, and financial success. There was no room for surprises, much less for a 4-year-old girl with a teddy bear. Around 3 in the morning, Emily stirred in bed, mumbling something incomprehensible. Michael quickly got up, worried she might be having a nightmare. "It's okay," he whispered, adjusting the comforter around her. "You're safe." To his surprise, Emily opened her eyes briefly, looked at him, and smiled before drifting back to a deep sleep. That sleepy smile changed something in Michael. Suddenly, all his doubts seemed less important. No matter how inadequate he felt, at that moment, he was exactly what Emily needed, someone to make sure she was safe. He returned to the armchair and continued his silent vigil. Occasionally, he spoke softly, sharing thoughts with the sleeping child as if testing the words, trying out his new role. "We'll find your mom, Emily, I promise, and until then, I'll take care of you." The night stretched on, and Michael stayed awake, planning the next steps. In the morning, he would begin searching for Rachel, but would do so discreetly, without involving the authorities immediately. Something told him there was more to this story than simple abandonment. When the first ray of sunlight entered the window, lighting up Emily's brown curls, Michael realized he couldn't remember the last time he'd stayed up all night for someone. In fact, he couldn't remember the last time anyone had truly needed him. Emily stretched under the covers, still asleep, a small smile on her lips, as if she were having a pleasant dream. Michael watched her with a mix of awe and protectiveness. In less than 24 hours, this tiny stranger had turned his meticulously organized world into something entirely new. And strangely, he didn't want it any other way. Morning arrived with a clear sky, as though the previous night's rain had been just a dream. Standing in the kitchen, Michael prepared pancakes while talking on the phone with Jack Warren, a private investigator he'd once hired for corporate matters. Next to him, Emily drew at the dining table, using colored pencils Michael had found in a desk drawer. "I need maximum discretion, Jack," Michael said, flipping a pancake. "I don't want this becoming an official case before we understand what really happened." "A child left behind, Michael." Jack's voice sounded concerned on the other end. "This is something for the authorities. For now, I just want to find the mother. Her name is Rachel, and that's all we have. I'm sending you a photo of the note so you can analyze the handwriting. And I need to know if there's any record of missing persons in the last few days that matches the description." Emily looked up from her drawing. "I'm drawing me, you, and Mr. Chocolate. Mom too when you find her." Michael smiled at her, covering the phone's mouthpiece. "It's looking beautiful," he said before returning to his call. "Jack, I also need a list of the shelters in the city. I want to know if a woman named Rachel, probably in her 30s, stayed in any of them recently." After a few more instructions, Michael hung up and placed a plate of pancakes in front of Emily. She looked at the food with wide eyes. "They're shaped like a bear," she exclaimed. Delighted by the pancakes Michael had clumsily modeled to look like a teddy. "I thought Mr. Chocolate would appreciate it," he replied, feeling a strange satisfaction at seeing Emily's enthusiasm. While they ate, Michael asked some casual questions, trying to gather more information about Rachel without pressuring Emily too much. "Emily, did you and your mom live in an apartment like this one?" Emily shook her head, biting into a piece of pancake. "We stayed in a hotel for a while. Before that, we were at Aunt Susan's house, but she got mad and we had to leave." "Aunt Susan?" Michael asked, trying to maintain a casual tone. "Is she your mom's sister?" "I don't know. She let us sleep there when it was cold." Another piece of the puzzle, possibly no close family, only acquaintances who offered temporary help. After breakfast, Michael made a few more calls, this time to contacts in social services and charitable institutions. Using his influence and promising generous donations, he managed to get some people to check their records without asking too many questions. Meanwhile, Emily explored the apartment, always carrying Mr. Chocolate. For a child who probably had never seen so much space, she acted with respectful curiosity, asking permission before touching anything. "Michael," she called, standing by the window that led to the balcony. "Can I look outside?" He led her onto the sheltered balcony, lifting her so she could see the city below. Emily was fascinated by the view, pointing out buildings and tiny cars on the streets. "Mom would like it here," she said after a few minutes. "She always says that one day we'll live high up, near the clouds." Michael felt a tightness in his chest. What had happened so that a mother who spoke of dreams with her daughter ended up leaving her alone in the rain? After lunch, while Emily took a nap, Michael received the first pieces of information from his contacts. A women's shelter downtown confirmed that a woman named Rachel, accompanied by a small child, had stayed there a few nights the previous month. "Desperate situation, but very caring with the daughter," the report read. They had left without warning, as many did. Jack also sent an initial report. There were no missing person records matching Rachel's description, and preliminary analysis of the note suggested it was written hastily, likely under emotional distress. When Emily woke up, she found Michael in the living room, lost in thought. "Let's play," she asked, rubbing her sleepy eyes. Michael realized he had no children's toys at home, only Mr. Chocolate that Emily had brought. "How about we go buy some toys?" he suggested, thinking that getting out of the house would be good for both of them. Emily agreed excitedly, but before they left her, she made a request that caught Michael off guard. "Can we go back to where you found me?" "Maybe Mum came back." Her request made Michael's heart ache. He didn't want to give her false hope, but he also couldn't deny the girl's reasonable wish. "We can stop by there, yes," he agreed, helping her into the new shoes he had ordered online that morning, along with some children's clothes. During the car ride, Emily hummed softly, a simple melody Michael didn't recognize. Maybe something Rachel had sung to her. They arrived at the awning where Michael had found Emily the previous night. The place looked even more desolate in the daylight. Emily got out of the car, firmly holding Michael's hand, and looked around expectantly. "Mom!" she called, her tiny voice echoing on the empty street. Michael felt his stomach sink. There was no one there, just a plastic bag drifting in the wind. They waited for almost half an hour. Emily sat in the same spot Michael had found her, hugging Mr. Chocolate, her eyes fixed on the corner as though Rachel might appear at any moment. Michael sat next to her, trying to imagine what was going through the child's mind. "We didn't eat every day," Emily said suddenly, her small voice distant. "Sometimes Mom wouldn't eat so I could have the food." Michael felt a pang in his chest at the unexpected revelation. The image of a mother going hungry to feed her child formed in his mind, making the situation even more painful. "Sometimes it takes a long time for people to come back," Emily added, her voice betraying a wisdom beyond her years. Michael looked at her, impressed by her resilience. Something in her expression brought forth a memory he had kept buried for decades. "You know, Emily," he said softly, "when I was little, a bit older than you, I also waited for someone who never came back." Emily turned to him, curious. "Who?" Michael took a deep breath. He almost never spoke of this, not even with the therapists who'd tried to help him over the years. "My dad. He said he was going to the store to buy cigarettes, and that he'd be right back. I waited at the window until very late. Did he get lost? Emily asked, with a child's simple logic. Maybe, Michael answered, opting for a half-truth. All I know is that I waited for a long time. Days, weeks. I'd look out the window every time I heard a car. Emily took his hand in hers, a gesture of comfort that caught him off guard. Were you sad? Very, he admitted. And I was angry too. I didn't understand why he wasn't coming back if he had promised. Emily thought for a few seconds, her small face serious. Mum didn't promise she'd come back, she said finally. She just asked me to wait. Her observation hit Michael hard. It was true. Rachel hadn't promised to return. The note only said, "Please take care of my girl." A request, not a promise. Emily, Michael said, crouching to her eye level. I promise I'll do everything to find your mom, but in the meantime, you won't be waiting alone. Ever. I'll be with you the whole time. Emily's eyes filled with tears, the first he'd seen since he found her. Really? Michael hugged her, feeling her thin arms wrap around his neck. I promise. You'll never wait alone in the rain again. After that moment, they decided to leave the spot. On the way to the toy store, Emily seemed calmer, as if a weight had been lifted from her small shoulders. In the store, Michael watched in fascination as Emily's eyes lit up at all the options. She chose a few coloring books, building blocks, a memory game, and a doll that, after some hesitation, she decided would be Mr. Chocolate's friend. He needs company when we're not looking, she explained seriously. Back at the apartment, with new toys spread across the once pristine living room, Michael got another call from Jack. I have some information about shelters, said the investigator. Rachel, without a listed last name, stayed at least 3 different institutions in the past 6 months, always with a small child. And the most recent one, about 3 weeks ago, at a shelter called St. Mary's. According to records, she was looking for work but had difficulty because she had no permanent address or formal qualifications. Michael took notes while Emily built a tower from colorful blocks. Any official records, documents, previous address, anything? I'm checking now. What strikes me is there's no missing child report. If she abandoned her daughter on purpose, she's not showing regret or trying to find her. Michael glanced at Emily, now carefully placing the new doll next to Mr. Chocolate, formally introducing them. Keep searching, Jack. I need to understand what happened. After hanging up, Michael joined Emily on the floor, helping her build a taller tower. The ease with which she included him in her play, the trust with which she took his hand to show him something, all of it made Michael wonder what would happen to Emily when they eventually found Rachel. The thought of being separated from her caused a strange ache he didn't want to examine too closely. The following days fell into a surprisingly comfortable routine. Michael rearranged his schedule, working remotely whenever possible, and delegating meetings he couldn't postpone. Meanwhile, Emily explored the apartment and created small rituals Michael found fascinating. Breakfast always had to include something round, like the sun, she explained. Mr. Chocolate had to be put to bed before her, and Michael had to check 3 times for monsters in the closet before turning out the lights. Between calls and virtual meetings, Michael taught Emily how to make toast, fold napkins into animal shapes, and recognize constellations they could see from the balcony at night. She, in turn, taught him how to turn a cardboard box into a castle, how to make Mr. Chocolate talk in different voices, and how to do a rain dance that basically involved spinning until dizzy. On the 3rd day, as they watched a cartoon with Emily snuggled against his shoulder, Michael received a text message from one of the shelters he'd contacted. An employee remembered Rachel and confirmed she had mentioned mental health issues and financial difficulties. She sought help several times but always left before completing any assistance programs, read the note. Michael's anxiety grew with each new piece of information. The emerging picture was of a woman struggling against difficult circumstances, possibly with untreated mental health problems, trying to raise a child without family or social support. On the 5th night, after putting Emily to bed, now in a room transformed by fairy lights, colorful cushions, and a small shelf of children's books, Michael received a more detailed report from Jack. Rachel Thompson, 30 years old, history of severe depression, lost her job as a store clerk 8 months ago, evicted from her apartment 6 months ago. Since then, she's been using social services intermittently. No record of close family able to help. Emily's father isn't listed anywhere. Michael reread the report multiple times. The situation was even more complicated than he had imagined. This didn't seem like a case of neglectful abandonment, but the desperate act of someone who had reached her limit. The next morning, Michael woke up to the smell of something burning. He rushed to the kitchen and found Emily standing on a stool, trying to flip a pancake on the stove. "I was making a surprise," she explained, looking disappointed at the charred pancake. Michael laughed, turning on the exhaust fan to clear the smoke. "Let me show you the trick," he said, scooping more batter from a bowl Emily had prepared, half of it apparently spilled in the process. As he demonstrated how to flip the pancake at just the right moment, Emily watched with total concentration, as if learning the secret of the universe. "Do you think Mom will like my new room?" she asked suddenly. The question caught Michael off guard. It was the first time Emily spoke about the possibility of Rachel coming to the apartment. "I'm sure she will," he replied carefully. "You decorated it very nicely. When she comes back, she can stay in the room with me." 2 weeks had passed since Michael had found Emily on that rainy night. The apartment, once a symbol of his professional success and personal solitude, now felt entirely different. In the kitchen, once used only for reheating takeout, there was now a box of colorful cereal in the cupboard. Honey Stars, Emily's favorite, within her reach thanks to a stool she dragged around. The fridge, once empty except for drinks and leftovers, now displayed drawings held up by magnets, mostly stick figures representing her and Michael holding hands, often accompanied by Mr. Chocolate in an outsized form. Emily had established small rituals Michael watched, with a mixture of fascination and affection. In the morning, she insisted on helping set the table, placing folded napkins next to the plates like a fancy restaurant, she explained. Before bed, she demanded that Michael check under the bed for monsters, even though they both knew nothing was there. It was more about the comfort of routine. That Saturday morning, Michael woke to the sound of laughter from the living room. He found Emily sitting on the floor, surrounded by colored blocks, chatting happily with her toys. "Mr. Chocolate, you have to stay here to hold the wall. Lola, you guard the castle door," she instructed seriously, positioning the teddy bear and doll among the blocks. Michael watched for a moment, unnoticed, amazed at the child's ability to create entire worlds with a few toys. "Good morning, architect," he finally said, stepping into the room. Emily looked up and smiled, revealing the gap from a baby tooth that had fallen out days ago. "Michael, look at the castle we're building," she exclaimed, pointing to the block structure that looked more like a wobbly wall with improvised towers. "Incredible," he replied with genuine enthusiasm. "Who lives in this castle?" "The brave princess and her bodyguard," Emily answered promptly, as if it were obvious. "And also the friendly dragon who protects them." Michael sat on the floor beside her, taking the blocks Emily handed him to add to the structure. "And what's this brave princess like?" Emily thought for a second, concentrating. "She has hair like mine, but really long, and she knows how to fight villains. The bodyguard is tall and strong like you, and he tells her bedtime stories when it's thundering." Michael smiled, recognizing the parallels. Together, they continued building the castle, which grew in size and complexity under Emily's creative direction. She named each room with her own logic, which Michael tried to follow. "This is the princess's bedroom, with a giant bed and 100 pillows," she explained, pointing to a gap between blocks. "And here is the magic kitchen that never runs out of food." The mention of food that never runs out made Michael remember Emily's comment about not eating every day. He looked at her now, so comfortable and confident in his apartment, feeling another wave of protectiveness. Later, while Emily colored at the kitchen table, Michael received yet another report from Jack. Still no sign of Rachel, but more details about her background kept surfacing. A pattern of instability, attempts at improvement followed by setbacks. "We're checking hospitals and clinics now," Jack informed him on the phone. If she sought treatment, we might find a trail. Michael thanked him and hung up, looking over at Emily, who was now placing her latest drawing on the fridge door. "What did you draw this time?" he asked, walking closer. Emily pointed to the figures on the paper. "That's you working on the computer. That's me playing. And that's Lola and Mr. Chocolate having tea." Michael examined the drawing, noting how each figure had personalized details. His watch that Emily always found fascinating, her carefully drawn curls. "It's perfect," he praised, helping her secure it with a strawberry-shaped magnet, another new item in the kitchen. In the afternoon, they decided to bake cookies following a simple recipe Michael found online. Emily, wearing an improvised apron made from an oversized t-shirt tied at the waist, insisted on mixing the ingredients, resulting in flour scattered across the counter and laughter when the batter splashed onto her nose. "My mom used to bake cookies on special days," Emily remarked as she shaped the dough into uneven shapes. "On my birthday and at Christmas." "When is your birthday?" Michael asked, realizing he had never thought to ask. "December 22nd, she replied. "Almost Christmas. Mom says that's why I get special presents." Michael made a mental note. Only 4 months until Emily's birthday. The idea that she might still be with him by then stirred conflicting feelings. On one hand, he wanted to find Rachel and reunite them. On the other, the thought of Emily leaving his life created a void he wasn't prepared to face. As the cookies baked, filling the apartment with a sweet aroma never before present, Emily tugged Michael's hand, leading him to the living room. "Come on, let's tell the story of the lost night." This was another newly created tradition. Emily would pick 3 drawings from the many she had made and challenge Michael to create a story linking them. Today she chose a drawing of a tree, one of a cat, and another that vaguely resembled a horse. Michael sat on the sofa with Emily snuggled by his side and began, "Once upon a time, there was a knight who got lost in the enchanted forest." Emily listened attentively, occasionally interrupting to add details or correct the direction of the story when she disagreed with Michael's ideas. "No, the cat's not evil. He's just scared because he's never seen a knight before," she insisted, when Michael suggested the cat was a disguised sorcerer. By the end of the improvised story, Emily clapped, satisfied with the happy ending, where the knight, the cat, and the horse all became friends and found their way home together. The oven timer chimed, indicating the cookies were done. In the kitchen, Michael helped Emily use oversized oven mitts for her small hands, guiding her carefully as she removed the baking sheet. Sitting on the balcony with milkshakes and still warm cookies, Emily looked out at the city below, the sun beginning to set on the horizon. "This is a good place," she declared with the simple certainty that only children possess. Michael looked at her. This small person who had completely transformed his world in just 2 weeks. The apartment, once merely a place to sleep between workdays, was now filled with laughter, stories, drawings, and little routines that gave meaning to the hours of the day. Emily had brought color to a monochrome space, warmth to previously cold rooms, and purpose to days that used to blend together without distinction. Every corner now had a name or story. The thinking chair, where Michael sometimes worked. The secret spot behind the curtain where Emily liked to hide. The wall of fame where her drawings were proudly displayed. As he watched Emily nibble on a cookie with delight, Michael realized it was the first time in his adult life that he truly felt at home in his own apartment. And the first time he feared the future, not because of what he might lose financially, but because of the emptiness that would remain if Emily were no longer there. The thought of Rachel returning, reclaiming her daughter, knotted his stomach. Not because he didn't want Emily reunited with her mother, he wanted the best for the child, but because after experiencing the fullness Emily brought to his life, returning to his previous solitude felt unbearable. Emily looked up and smiled at him, a smile full of confidence and affection. "Do you want the last bite?" she offered, extending her half-eaten cookie. It was a simple gesture, but loaded with trust and warmth. Michael accepted, sharing that small, perfect moment, knowing that no matter what the future held, these days with Emily had changed his life forever. Jack Warren's report arrived on a cloudy morning, nearly a month after the day Michael found Emily. He read it while sipping coffee, before the little girl woke up. The news wasn't encouraging. We've identified at least 3 sightings of a woman matching Rachel Thompson's description in recent weeks. Witnesses saw her around Hamilton Park, near the Central Station area, and in a northern neighborhood. In each account, she seemed disoriented and was looking for food, rummaging through trash or asking for help at local businesses. One witness claimed they heard her asking about shelters that accept people without paperwork. Michael rubbed his temples, trying to process the information. Rachel was alive, but in extremely dire conditions. Being without proper documentation made everything more complicated, almost impossible to get formal work or certain social services. The sound of small footsteps interrupted his thoughts. Emily entered the kitchen in her pajamas, hair a halo of curls around her sleepy face. "Good morning," she said, rubbing her eyes. "Mr. Chocolate is still sleeping." Michael quickly put the report back into a folder. "Good morning, little one. Want some pancakes for breakfast?" Emily nodded, climbing onto the stool by the counter to watch Michael prepare the batter. In recent days, she had grown quieter, as though the weight of her mother's absence was finally surfacing beyond her initial resilience. "Did you find Mom?" she asked abruptly, her eyes fixed on Michael's hands mixing the ingredients. The direct question caught Michael off guard. He had decided to share information carefully, without lying, but also without burdening Emily with worries she couldn't handle. "We haven't found her in person yet," he answered cautiously, "but we've learned that some people saw someone who looks like her in different parts of the city." Emily's eyes widened with sudden hope. "Is she looking for me?" Michael hesitated. Nothing in the report suggested Rachel was actively searching for Emily. In fact, it seemed she was struggling just to survive. "She's trying to find safe places, Emily. When people are in trouble, sometimes the first thing they need is food and shelter." Emily nodded as if it made sense to her. "Like when we slept on a park bench because the hotel wouldn't let us stay." Michael's heart tightened. These casual references from Emily hinted at a life of instability no child should know. "Exactly," he said, flipping a pancake. "But we're looking for her in all those places, and we will find her." Over breakfast, Michael explained in simple terms what he planned to do that day. Visit some of the areas mentioned in Jack's report, talk to people working with the homeless, and hand out flyers with Rachel's description based on what Emily had told him. "Can I go too?" Emily asked seriously. "I know Mom better than anyone." Michael had planned to leave her with Mrs. Martinez, a babysitter recommended by his assistant who had already spent a few afternoons with Emily. But the girl's request was so sincere, so important to her, that he reconsidered. "Some places might not be very comfortable, Emily." "I've been to uncomfortable places before," she answered, showing a maturity that continued to surprise him. Michael agreed, setting some ground rules. Emily had to hold his hand the entire time, obey him immediately if he said they needed to return to the car, and understand they might not find Rachel that day. The first stops were relatively simple: community centers and charity institutions providing meals and basic services for people living on the streets. Michael showed Rachel's reconstructed photo, described her features, and left his business card with contact information. Emily observed everything in silent attentiveness, her eyes recording each detail of the places and people they encountered. At one food distribution center, an elderly volunteer knelt to speak with Emily. "You're a very brave little girl, helping to look for your mum," she said, offering Emily a cookie, which she accepted after a confirming glance at Michael. "We're going to find her," Emily replied with conviction. "Michael's good at finding people." The simplicity of Emily's faith in him made Michael feel an even heavier responsibility. He couldn't fail her. In the afternoon, they visited a park known for having groups of homeless people. Michael held Emily's hand tightly as they talked to social workers in the area. "Rachel Thompson," repeated one of the social workers, checking their records. "We have dozens of Rachels, but not all give a last name. A woman who fits that description came for a meal 3 days ago, but didn't stay for services. She seemed scared." As they walked through the park, Emily suddenly stopped, pointing to a specific bench under a large tree. "We slept there once," she said. "Mom said it was like camping in the city." Michael looked at the worn wooden bench, imagining Rachel and Emily curled up there, trying to sleep as the city moved around them. He crouched to Emily's eye level, You know, sometimes the people we love need help, but don't know how to ask. Like when I can't reach the cereal on the top shelf, Emily asked, trying to grasp the concept. Sort of. But imagine that besides not being able to reach it, you're also very scared to ask for help. Emily thought for a moment. Why would anyone be scared to ask for help? It was a tough question, one that needed an answer suitable for a 4-year-old. Sometimes adults go through really hard things that make them feel ashamed or scared. They think no one will want to help, or that people will judge them. Judge means saying mean things, right? Emily asked, showing surprising understanding. Exactly. It's when people only look at the problems and not at the whole person. Your mum might be afraid of that happening if she asks for help. Emily nodded thoughtfully, then spoke with conviction. But we won't judge her, right? We just want to help. Exactly, Emily. That's why we're looking for her, so she knows she's not alone. In the days that followed, Michael rearranged his work schedule to allow more time for the search. He hired 2 additional investigators to cover different parts of the city. He contacted hospitals and clinics, checking emergency admissions. Each morning began with Emily asking if there was any news, and each night ended with Michael admitting they still hadn't found Rachel. The constant "not yet" began to weigh on the atmosphere in the apartment. A week later, Emily was coloring a book at the living room table while Michael made calls. Suddenly, she stopped, pencil hovering over the page. "What if Mom doesn't want to come back?" she asked softly, not looking at Michael. The question struck at the heart of the fear Michael had been trying to ignore. He hung up the phone and sat next to Emily. "Why do you think that?" Emily shrugged, a gesture she had learned to use when she didn't want to show she was hurt. If she wanted, she would have come back already. Michael chose his words carefully. "Emily, remember when we talked about people needing help, but being afraid to ask? Your mum might really want to be with you, but maybe she's going through things that are stopping her." "What things?" "Sometimes adults get sick in a different way. Not like a cold towel, but feeling very sad or confused for a long time. It can make it hard to make decisions or ask for help." Emily fidgeted with the colored pencil in her hand, thinking, "But you'll help her get better, right? Like you did when I had a fever." Emily's faith in his ability to fix anything was both touching and frightening. "I'll do everything I can, Emily. I promise." As the days passed with no concrete news, Emily became more introspective. Her drawings, once bright and cheerful, now often featured lonely figures or rainy scenes. The bedtime ritual grew longer, with Emily asking repeatedly for Michael to check the room and stay by her side until she fell asleep. One night, under the soft light of the lamp in her star-decorated room, Emily asked the question that revealed her deepest worries. "Michael, if Mum can't take care of me anymore, do I have to go somewhere else?" Michael, sitting on the edge of the bed, felt the weight of the question. The truth was he didn't know what would happen. Legally, Emily would probably enter the foster system if Rachel was deemed unfit to care for her. Unless... "Emily, do you like staying here with me?" She nodded, hugging Mr. Chocolate. "I like it a lot. You never yell, and there's always food, and you tell good stories." Michael smiled despite the seriousness of the situation. "Then know this, no matter what happens, I'll do everything to make sure you have a safe place. If that place is with your mom, that's great. But if, for some reason, that can't happen, I'll do whatever it takes for you to stay with me. Promise." "I promise, Emily." The girl seemed reassured by that guarantee, her eyes starting to droop with sleep. "Michael," she murmured as she was about to drift off. "Yes. I think Mom would like you." Those simple words touched Michael deeply. He stayed by Emily's side until her breathing became regular and deep, indicating she was asleep. Leaving the room quietly, he went to his office and picked up the phone. It was time to consider all possibilities. If they found Rachel, they would help her recover and reunite with Emily. But if that wasn't possible, or if it took too long, Michael had to ensure Emily remained safe and stable. He called his lawyer, waking him despite the late hour. "Scott, I need to know everything about temporary custody and possible adoption. It's complicated, but I want to be prepared for all scenarios." As he listened to the lawyer outline the legal processes, Michael glanced at one of Emily's drawings on the wall. 3 stick figures holding hands, her, Rachel, and him, under a smiling sun. It was Emily's vision of an ideal world, with the 2 people who mattered most to her, together and happy. Michael promised himself he would do everything in his power to make that vision a reality, one way or another. The call came on a Sunday afternoon, while Michael and Emily were putting together a puzzle in the living room. It was Brian Parker, a volunteer at a social outreach program Michael had contacted weeks ago. "Mr. Foster," the voice on the other end sounded urgent. "I think I found the woman you're looking for, Rachel Thompson." Michael's heart began to race. 6 weeks of searching, dozens of false leads, and now this. "Are you sure?" he asked, stepping away so Emily wouldn't hear the conversation. "Almost certain. A woman around 30, curly brown hair, big eyes. She's very thin, really thin, and looks disoriented, but she matches the photo you passed out." "Where did you see her?" "On the east side, near the old textile factory. She was rummaging through trash bins behind Chen's Market. I tried to approach her, offer help, but she got scared and ran. Scared." That was less than an hour ago. Michael looked at Emily, concentrated on finding the next puzzle piece, unaware that her life might be about to change again. "I'm heading there now. Can you meet me? I'll be on the corner of Maple and 12th Avenue in 20 minutes. Michael hung up, taking a deep breath to organize his thoughts. The neighborhood mentioned was at least a 30-minute drive, and he needed to decide what to do with Emily. Taking her could expose her to a potentially traumatic situation. Leaving her meant delaying a reunion if they did find Rachel. "Emily," he called, returning to her side. "I need to go check on something important." She looked up from the puzzle, immediately sensing the change in his tone. "Is it about Mom?" Michael never lied to Emily, a rule he had established from the start. "Yes, someone thinks they saw her today, and I need to see if it's really her." Emily's eyes widened, a mix of hope and fear reflected in them. "Can I go?" Michael crouched beside her, placing his hands gently on her shoulders. "This time, I think it's better you stay here with Mrs. Martinez," he said, referring to the babysitter in the next room organizing Emily's clothes. "I need to make sure it's really your mom and that she's okay to see you." "She might not be okay." Emily's perception was remarkable for her age. Michael chose his words carefully. "Remember when we talked about adults getting sick differently? Your mom might be tired, confused, or scared, or I need to talk to her first and explain you're safe and being taken care of." Emily was quiet for a moment, absorbing the explanation. "If it's really Mom, will you bring her here? I'll do my best, but she might need special help first, maybe a place where doctors can treat her." Michael noticed tears forming in Emily's eyes. "Will she come back for me?" she asked, her voice trembling slightly. Michael pulled her into a tight hug, feeling her small arms around his neck. "Emily, no matter what happens, I promise you will always have a safe place, whether with your mom, once she's better, or here with me. You'll never be alone again." He felt Emily relax a bit in his arms. "Promise you'll tell me everything when you get back. No secrets. I promise, no secrets." Michael explained the situation to Mrs. Martinez, who agreed to stay as long as needed. Emily, though visibly anxious, tried to be brave, returning to the puzzle with forced determination. "I'm going to finish it so I can show Mom when she comes," she said, holding on to hope. In the car on the way to the meeting point, Michael called Jack Warren. "We have a concrete lead," he informed the investigator. "I'm going to check it out now. Can you alert our network and see if anyone else spotted Rachel in that area recently?" "I'll do it immediately," Jack replied. "Do you want me to meet you there?" "No, I need someone I trust monitoring Emily. She's with the babysitter, but I want you to keep an eye on the apartment. This situation could get complicated." Michael was referring to the possibility that Rachel might not be in a condition to be approached, or worse, might refuse help. After so many weeks searching, he couldn't risk losing this chance due to lack of preparation. Arriving at the designated corner, Michael spotted Brian Parker, a man of about 50 with graying hair and genuine concern on his face. "Mr. Foster," he greeted, extending his hand. "Glad you came so quickly. Please call me Michael, and thank you for contacting me. The area I saw her is 2 blocks from here." It's a tough neighborhood. Lots of people living on the streets, some drug issues, but I know it well. I've been working here for years. As they walked, Brian explained he had briefly met Rachel days earlier when she came to a food distribution. He hadn't known her name at the time, but remembered her when he saw the photo Michael had distributed. She looked very wary, didn't want to talk. She took the food and left quickly. Today I recognized her going through the trash behind the market, but when I tried to approach, she ran. How did she look? Physically, I mean. Brian hesitated, choosing his words. Honestly, not good. Very thin, dirty clothes. It seemed like she hadn't slept in days. But I didn't see signs of drug use, if that's what you're asking. It looked more like someone battling mental health issues, maybe severe depression. That matched what Michael had discovered about Rachel's history. The information was both troubling and a relief. Troubling because of her dire state. A relief because she didn't appear to be involved with substances, which would complicate recovery even further. This is the area, Brian said, when they reached a block with old buildings and a few small shops. She's often seen around here, especially near the market and the community shelter down the street. Michael thanked Brian and took his card. Please stay alert. If we find her, I might need your help convincing her to accept assistance. Alone, Michael began circling the area, showing Rachel's photo to local shop owners and people on the street. After almost an hour, an attendant at a small diner confirmed seeing someone like her earlier that morning. She comes by every day around the same time, about 4 o'clock. Watches people eat. Sometimes I give her a sandwich when there's something left. 4 o'clock was approaching. Michael decided to wait in the diner, sitting at a table where he could watch the street. With each passing minute, his heart pounded a little faster. He was so close, almost there. So close to finding Emily's mother. His phone rang. It was Mrs. Martinez. Mr. Foster, Emily is asking when you'll be back. She's very anxious and won't eat her snack. Can I talk to her? There was a brief pause, and then Emily's small voice came through. Michael, did you find Mom? Not yet, sweetheart, but I'm very close. I promise as soon as I know more, I'll come home and tell you everything. I'm scared, she admitted, her voice trembling a bit. I know, Emily. I'm a little nervous too. But remember what we talked about. No matter what happens, you have a safe place now. That won't change. Okay, she replied, sounding somewhat calmer. Mr. Chocolate sends a hug. Michael smiled, feeling a lump in his throat. Give him a hug from me too. After hanging up, Michael refocused on the street. The clock read 3:55 p.m. Somewhere in this unfamiliar neighborhood, Rachel Thompson might be approaching, unaware that her life, Emily's life, and his own were about to shift drastically. It was 4:10 p.m. when Michael saw her. She didn't appear suddenly. She was simply there, on the other side of the street, as if emerging from the shadows between buildings. Rachel walked slowly, shoulders hunched, gaze fixed on the ground. Even at a distance, Michael could see how different she looked from the image Emily had lovingly described. Her curly hair, which Emily said was as pretty as a princess's, was disheveled and lifeless. The face, in which in her daughter's memory glowed with a warm smile, was now haggard, marked by deep shadows. And her body, frail and thin, seemed lost in an oversized coat, likely a donation. Michael paid for his coffee and left the diner, crossing the street carefully so as not to lose sight of her. She had stopped beside a trash can near a small restaurant and, after a quick glance around to ensure no one was watching, began searching through discarded leftovers. The sight made Michael's stomach clench. No matter how prepared he thought he was, seeing her in that condition, reduced to rummaging in the trash to survive, was startling. He took a deep breath, remembering what was at stake. Not just Rachel's well-being, but Emily's future. He approached slowly, trying not to startle her. When he was just a few feet away, Rachel sensed his presence and turned abruptly, like a cornered animal. Her eyes, those same big, expressive eyes Emily had inherited, were wide with fear. "Rachel?" he said softly. "Rachel Thompson." She stepped back, her fingers clutching the worn strap of a small bag. "Who are you?" she asked in a hoarse voice, glancing left and right as though seeking an escape route. "My name is Michael Foster. I've been looking for you for weeks," he said, keeping his distance and his arms relaxed at his sides to appear non-threatening. "It's about Emily, your daughter." Emily's name triggered an immediate reaction. Rachel's entire body trembled, and for a moment, Michael feared she might collapse right there on the sidewalk. "Emily?" she whispered. She couldn't finish, terror palpable in her expression. "She's safe," Michael hurried to say. "She's with me ever since that rainy night." Rachel covered her mouth with her hands, tears instantly welling in her eyes. "You found her, it was you." Her voice was a mix of disbelief and relief. "Yes, I found the note you left with her. Please take care of my girl." Rachel closed her eyes for a moment, as though absorbing the information. When she opened them again, there was something different about her gaze, a vulnerability that replaced the initial fear. "She's really okay?" she asked, taking a tentative step forward. "Is she eating? Is she warm? She gets so cold at night." "She's perfect," Michael assured her. "She has her own room, warm clothes, toys. She's safe and well cared for. I promise." Rachel nodded slowly, a tear sliding down her marked face. Can I see her?" The simple yet deeply complex question made Michael hesitate. Rachel noticed his uncertainty, and her face contorted with anguish. "You won't let me, will you?" Her voice rose in panic. "You took her, and now you don't want to give her back." "That's not it, Rachel." Michael took a cautious step closer. "Emily asks about you every day." "But look where we are, look at this situation." Rachel looked around, as if only then truly noticing the setting. Her rummaging through garbage on a rundown street, her dirty clothes, her dire state. Painful realization dawned in her eyes. "I can't," she murmured, shaking her head. "I can't let her see me like this." "Let's go somewhere to talk," Michael suggested, gesturing toward a small park across the street. "Just talk, I promise. Emily deserves to understand what happened, and so do I." After a moment's hesitation, Rachel nodded. They crossed the street and sat on a bench in a secluded area, giving them privacy. Rachel kept her distance, fingers still gripping her tattered bag. "How is she really?" she asked as soon as they were seated. "She's amazing," Michael replied, a genuine smile forming. "Strong, smart, creative. She fills the house with drawings and stories. She talks about you every day." What does she say?" "That you used to tell her bedtime stories. That you had a secret code for hard days. That you promised someday you'd live high up in the clouds." Rachel covered her face with her hands, a sob escaping her lips. "She remembers," she muttered behind her fingers. "Rachel, what happened?" Michael asked softly. "Why leave her like that?" For several seconds, Rachel said nothing. When she finally spoke, her voice was heavy with pain. "I was losing control," she said, staring at her trembling hands. "I have issues. Depression, anxiety, sometimes something worse. I was on medication, but we had no money to keep it going. When we lost the apartment, everything spiraled." She paused, taking a deep breath. "We stayed in shelters, sometimes on the street. I swear I tried to care for her, but it got harder every day. I started hearing things, got confused. Some days, I couldn't even get up." Michael listened intently, not interrupting. Fragments of Emily's stories began to take on deeper meaning. "That night, I had a bad episode. Something broke inside me. I realized I couldn't keep her safe anymore. It was only a matter of time before something terrible happened." Rachel swallowed hard, fighting back tears. "I had to choose, either keep her with me, risking her safety, or make sure someone else could care for her better than you could at that moment," Michael finished. Rachel nodded, unable to speak for a moment. "I thought about calling social services, but I was scared. We'd dealt with them before and it was awful. Emily would be scared, maybe separated from me forever. So I had this idea." She bit her lip. "Waiting in a nice neighborhood, hoping a decent person would find her." "Were you watching?" Michael asked, remembering how he found Emily alone in the rain. "From a distance. I was hiding, watching. I saw you stop, saw how gently you spoke to her. You looked well dressed, like a good person. When you two got in the cab, Her voice faltered. "I fell apart." Silence settled between them, heavy with the weight of her revelation. It wasn't careless abandonment, but a devastating choice made by a desperate mother. "Rachel, I'm willing to help," Michael said firmly. "Not just Emily, but you too. I have resources. I can provide medical treatment, housing, whatever you need to get back on your feet." Rachel looked at him with distrust. "Why? Why do you care?" "Because I met your daughter," he replied simply. "And because I know that despite everything, you love her. Emily deserves to have her mom back when you're ready." Rachel studied his face, searching for signs of deception. Finding none, she asked in a trembling voice, "How would that even work?" "First, you need medical care. I know a private clinic that handles cases like yours. You'd stay there until you're stable. After that, we can talk about housing, a job, and gradually reuniting you with Emily." Rachel closed her eyes, as if trying to picture the possibility. "If I had another chance," she murmured, "I swear I'd never leave her again. Never." "Then let's start that chance right now," Michael said, offering his hand. After a moment's hesitation, Rachel took the hand he offered. Seotodoi. When Michael returned to the apartment that night, he found Emily still awake, anxiously waiting on the couch with Mr. Chocolate clutched to her chest. Mrs. Martinez had tried to put her to bed, but Emily insisted on staying up for Michael. "Did you find Mom?" she asked immediately, her big eyes locked on him, searching for answers before he could speak. Michael thanked the babysitter, who discreetly left, and sat beside Emily on the couch. How could he explain something so complex to a 4-year-old? "Yes, I found her," he said at last, watching Emily's eyes light up. "And she asked a lot about you. Is she coming to see me?" The hope in her voice was palpable. Michael took a deep breath, choosing his words carefully. "Emily, remember when we talked about adults getting sick in a different way? Your mom is like that right now. She needs special help before she can be with you again." Emily's face filled with concern. "Is she really sick?" "She's tired and confused. The kind of sickness she has makes it hard to think clearly sometimes. But now she's in a place where doctors are helping her, and she'll get better in time." Emily pondered this, brow furrowed in concentration. "She left me because she was sick." The direct question caught Michael off guard, but he had promised not to lie. "Yes, she told me it was getting harder and harder to take care of you. She was afraid she couldn't keep you safe." Michael took Emily's small hands in his. "Your mum loves you very much, Emily. She loves you so much that she did the hardest thing a mum can do. Give up being with you so you'd be safe. That shows how much she loves you." Emily's eyes filled with tears. "She didn't want me anymore." "No, not at all." Michael hugged her. "She wanted you so much that she chose the hardest option to protect you. That's how much she loves you." Emily was quiet for a moment, processing. "Will she get better?" she finally asked in a small voice. "It'll take some time, but yes, she will. And you know what she asked me to tell you. That if she could go back in time, she'd never have left you that night. That once she's better, she'll never leave you again." Emily wiped a tear away with her pajama sleeve. "Can we visit her?" "Soon. First, the doctors need to help her get a little better. But in the meantime, we can make drawings for her, record messages, things that might help her feel better." Emily nodded earnestly, as though accepting an important mission. "I'll make the prettiest drawing in the world." Michael smiled, brushing a curl away from her face. "I'm sure she'll love it." Emily leaned against him, seeming lighter now that she knew her mother had been found. After a few minutes of comfortable silence, she looked up at Michael. "Michael?" Her voice was almost a whisper. "Yes. Is it forever now? Mom's going to get better, and we'll be together forever." The question, asked with such innocent hope, struck Michael deeply. He wanted to promise Emily that yes, it would be forever, that everything would turn out fine. But he'd learned to be honest with her. "I can't promise everything will be perfect forever, Emily. But I can promise this. You'll always have a safe place. There will always be someone who loves and cares for you. Your mum, once she's better, or me, or both of us together somehow." Emily seemed to think it over for a moment. Then a small smile curved her lips. "You, me, and Mom, all together, like a family." Michael felt a warmth spread through his chest. "Yes, like a family," Emily yawned. the day's emotions finally catching up with her. "Time for bed," Michael said softly, lifting her from the couch. "You promise you'll tell me more about Mom tomorrow?" she murmured, already half asleep. "I promise. And maybe in a few days we can bring your drawing to her." In Emily's room, Michael tucked her gently into bed, adjusting the comforter around her and placing Mr. Chocolate at her side. He sat at the edge of the bed, watching as she struggled to keep her eyes open. "You know what else your mom told me?" he said, smoothing her curls against the pillow. "That you're the most important thing in the world to her. All she wants is for you to be happy." A faint smile appeared on Emily's sleepy face. "She's important to me too," she whispered, and then she finally fell asleep. Michael remained there for a while, gazing at Emily's peaceful face. The day had been an emotional roller coaster. Finding Rachel in that condition, hearing her heartbreaking story, starting the process of admitting her to the clinic. But despite everything, there was hope. A difficult road ahead, no doubt, but a road that could lead to something better for all of them. He got up carefully so as not to wake her and went to the window, looking out at the lights of the city. Somewhere out there, in a hospital room, Rachel was beginning her journey to recovery. A journey that, if successful, could reunite mother and daughter. As for him, Michael wasn't sure what his role would be once it was all over. But he knew one thing for certain: his life would never be the same after Emily. And now, after Rachel as well, the family Emily had envisioned, the three of them together, seemed like a distant idea, almost impossible. But who knew? In a world where a small child abandoned in the rain could transform a lonely man's life, perhaps other miracles were possible too. In the Riverside Clinic's meeting room, Michael sat in one of the chairs around the oval table, his impeccable suit at odds with the tension on his face. In front of him, a multidisciplinary team made up of doctors, social workers, and representatives from Child Protection Services discussed Rachel and Emily's case. "After 2 weeks of inpatient treatment, we can confirm that Rachel Thompson has bipolar disorder with psychotic episodes," explained Dr. Martinez, the psychiatrist in charge of the case. "The good news is that she's responding well to the initial medication and has been actively participating in therapy." "How about her ability to resume custody of Emily?" asked the social services representative, a middle-aged woman with red-framed glasses. The doctor consulted her notes before answering. "Rachel will need at least 4 months of intensive treatment before we consider her stable enough to care for a child without supervision. After that period, we'll recommend a gradual transition, with supervised visits that increase in frequency and duration as she progresses." Michael listened intently, taking notes. The past 2 weeks had been intense, splitting his time between work, caring for Emily, and visiting Rachel at the clinic. Despite the exhaustion, he felt compelled to continue, especially after witnessing Rachel's first signs of improvement. "Mr. Foster," the social worker addressed him, "we need to discuss the legal status of Emily's custody. While you've provided a stable home for her, there's no formal documentation authorizing you to keep her in your care." Michael straightened in his chair and spoke with conviction. "I'm aware. I've spoken with my lawyers, and we're prepared to file for temporary guardianship of Emily while Rachel recovers. I have no intention of permanently separating mother and daughter. My only goal is to ensure Emily's stability during this transition and support Rachel's recovery." "And does Rachel agree with this arrangement?" asked another team member. "Yes, we've had many conversations about it. She understands she's not currently in a position to care for Emily, but she wants to be part of her daughter's life as soon as the medical team deems it appropriate." The meeting went on for another hour, discussing details of the treatment plan, legal requirements, and creating a schedule for supervised visits. In the end, a comprehensive plan was formalized. Michael would receive temporary custody of Emily for 6 months, during which Rachel would continue her treatment. Supervised visits would start after the first month, if the medical team approved. Additionally, once Rachel was discharged from inpatient treatment, after about 3 months, she would move to an assisted living program and continue outpatient treatment while gradually regaining her independence. Michael committed to covering any costs not covered by insurance and to assisting Rachel in reintegrating into the workforce when the time came. Before leaving, Michael asked Dr. Martinez for a moment in private. "How is she really?" he asked, now that they were without the formality of the team present. The doctor smiled slightly. "Better than we'd hoped for at this stage. Rachel's biggest challenge isn't just the psychiatric condition, but years of neglecting her health, living in unstable conditions, and accumulated trauma. However, she has a motivation that many patients lack." "Emily," Michael said. "Exactly. Wanting to reunite with her daughter is a powerful incentive. I've rarely seen anyone so determined to follow every recommendation and attend every offered therapy." Michael felt both relief and concern. Will she be able to be a mother again? With proper treatment and ongoing support, yes, but it's going to be a process, not a one-time event. Rachel will need monitoring for years, not just months. Those words stayed with Michael as he drove back home. The commitment he was taking on was larger and longer term than he'd initially imagined. It wasn't just about helping one woman recover so she could reclaim her child. It was about rebuilding lives and, perhaps, creating new kinds of families. At home, Emily was waiting eagerly. In the past few weeks, she had frequently asked about her mother, creating drawings and small gifts that Michael delivered during his visits to the clinic. "How was the meeting?" she asked the moment he walked in, surprising him with her grasp of the situation. Michael smiled, once again amazed at the perceptiveness of a 4-year-old. "It went well. Let's talk about it over dinner," he suggested, noticing the table was already set thanks to Mrs. Martinez, who cared for Emily during his absence. After the meal, Michael took Emily to the living room, where they sat on the plush rug, a special place they'd chosen for important talks. "Mom is improving," he began. "The doctors are helping her get strong again." Emily's eyes sparkled. "When is she coming home?" Michael chose his words carefully. "It'll take some time, Emily. First, she has to finish her treatment at the hospital. Then, she'll move to a special place where people will keep helping her. And after that, when she's ready, she'll be able to take care of you again. Where do I stay until then? Here with me, if you want." Michael hesitated briefly. "I had to sign some papers today that say I can keep caring for you officially while Mom recovers. It's called temporary custody." Emily frowned slightly. "Temporary means it doesn't last forever." "That's right. It lasts until your mum can take care of you again." Emily was quiet for a moment, thinking, "But you won't go away, right? Even when Mum comes back?" The question hit Michael hard. He had been asking himself the same thing. What role would he play in Emily's life once Rachel was better? "No, Emily, I won't go away. Even when your mom is healthy, I'll still be part of your life. I just don't know exactly how that will look, but I promise we'll figure it out." She seemed reassured by his answer. "Can I help Mom get better?" she asked, surprising Michael again with her generosity. "Of course you can. Actually, we have a surprise. If the doctor says it's okay, we can visit your mom next week." Emily's face lit up with a radiant smile that brought tears to Michael's eyes. "Really? Can I bring my drawings? And Mr. Chocolate?" "All of them." That night, as he tucked Emily into bed, Michael felt a new determination grow inside him. No matter how hard the road ahead might be, it would be worth it to see that smile again. The following weeks marked the start of a new phase. Michael reorganized his professional life, delegating more tasks and working remotely whenever possible to be present for both Emily and Rachel's treatment. Emily's first visit to her mother in the clinic was emotional and delicate. Rachel, still visibly fragile but with a healthier appearance, wept as she hugged her daughter. Emily, initially shy, soon opened up, showing drawings and excitedly recounting stories. Michael watched from a short distance, giving them space but ready to intervene if needed. "She's getting so big," Rachel commented, after an attendant took Emily to see the clinic garden. "She's grown almost an inch since I found her," Michael said, sitting in the chair near the bed. "She's also doing really well in preschool." Rachel smiled faintly, though worry lingered in her eyes. "I'm afraid I won't recognize my own daughter by the time I get out of here." "That won't happen. We're making videos, taking pictures, keeping a journal for you. And now you'll see her regularly." She nodded, grateful. "Michael, I know I've thanked you before, but I need to say it again. What you're doing, Nobody has ever. Her voice cracked. No need to thank me. Emily brought something into my life I didn't even know was missing. And seeing you two together today only confirms we're on the right track. In the weeks that followed, Michael worked tirelessly on the next steps. Using his business contacts, he secured a promise of employment for Rachel in the administrative department of a non-profit that helped single mothers. The position would be available once she was ready to work, offering flexible hours and an understanding environment. Meanwhile, Emily's visits to the clinic became part of her weekly routine. She eagerly awaited Sundays when she could spend 2 hours with her mum. Michael used these visits to speak with the medical team, get updates on Rachel's progress, and plan further steps. After about 2.5 months, Rachel was authorized to move to the next stage, transitioning to assisted living. The apartment, located in a facility specializing in social reintegration, was modest but welcoming, with a small extra room that could someday be Emily's. "It's perfect," Rachel said when Michael helped her move in. "I can't believe I have a place to call my own again. And this is just the beginning," he replied, placing a potted plant by the window, "a gift from Emily. In a few weeks, you'll start part-time work and then everything will gradually fall into place." Rachel walked around the small apartment, touching the furniture as though making sure it was real. "Sometimes I'm afraid I'll wake up and find out this is all just a dream, that I'm still out on the streets, without Emily, without hope." Michael stopped what he was doing and looked at her seriously. "This isn't a dream, Rachel. It's real. Yes, there will be hard days ahead. Days when the medication feels like too much. Days when therapy is exhausting. Days when you'll doubt yourself. But you won't face any of those days alone. You have a whole team supporting you, and you have Emily waiting for you." Tears gathered in Rachel's eyes, but determination shone there. "I won't waste this chance. I promise." And she didn't. In the following weeks, Rachel stuck to her treatment plan, attending every therapy session, taking her medication on schedule, and gradually rebuilding her self-confidence. When the day finally came for her to start her part-time job at the non-profit, she was nervous but prepared. Emily, understanding the importance of that moment, made a special card with crooked, colorful letters that read, "Good luck, Mom. You can do it." The first day of work was a success. How? Rachel came home exhausted, but with a spark in her eyes that hadn't been there before. Her co-workers were welcoming, and her responsibilities, though simple at first, gave her a sense of purpose she hadn't felt in a long time. The work week had its ups and downs. One day, her anxiety nearly kept her from leaving the house, but with her therapist's support and a reassuring call from Michael, she overcame it. At the end of that first week, the foundation organized a small ceremony to officially welcome the new employees. Michael and Emily were special guests. The girl, wearing her best dress, held Michael's hand tightly as they entered the building. Rachel waited for them at the reception area, dressed in new clothes and sporting a simple hairstyle that highlighted her natural curls, the same ones Emily had inherited. "You came," she said, a nervous smile on her lips. "Of course we did," Michael replied. "This is an important day." During the brief ceremony, each new employee received a symbolic certificate and a brooch with the organization's logo. When Rachel's name was called, Emily squeezed Michael's hand in excitement. Rachel stepped onto the small stage, received her certificate, and upon returning to her seat was greeted by a tight hug from Emily. "I'm so proud of you, Mom," said the girl, repeating a phrase she had probably heard from Michael at some point. Rachel knelt to hug her daughter properly, their eyes meeting Michael's over Emily's curls. There was gratitude in that look, but also something more. A connection that transcended the circumstances that had brought them together. After the ceremony, the three went to a nearby ice cream parlor to celebrate. Emily, seated between Rachel and Michael, chattered excitedly about her week at school while smearing chocolate ice cream all over her face. "I think we have a budding artist," Rachel remarked, showing Michael Emily's latest school drawing. "No doubt," Michael agreed. "Her teacher says she has a special talent for colors and composition. Her words, not mine." Rachel smiled, a smile that reached her eyes for the first time since Michael had met her. "Thank you for noticing these details. for knowing her so well. Emily, oblivious to the adults' conversation, was busy scraping the last bits of ice cream from her bowl. When she finished, she looked at them, face covered in chocolate. "Can we do this again next week?" she asked, her eyes shining with hope. Michael and Rachel exchanged glances. "I think we can try to make this a Friday ritual," Michael suggested. "What do you think, Rachel?" "I'd love that." She hesitated a moment. "If it's not too much trouble for you." "Not at all." "Emily loves Friday ice cream, don't you?" The girl nodded vigorously, smiling to show the gap from a recently lost baby tooth. At that moment, sitting in a modest ice cream shop, they almost looked like a normal family. Not a traditional one, to be sure, but a group formed by extraordinary circumstances and united by genuine love for a 4-year-old girl. On the ride back, Emily showed signs of fatigue, her eyes heavy as she settled into her car seat in the back. Within minutes, she was fast asleep. "She always falls asleep in the car," Michael noted softly, adjusting the rearview mirror to see Emily. "Some things never change," Rachel smiled nostalgically. Ever since she was a baby, the car's movement would put her right to sleep. A comfortable silence settled between them as Michael drove. When they reached the assisted living complex where Rachel lived, she hesitated before getting out. "It was a really special day, the first of many, I hope." "I'm sure it will be," Michael said. "You're doing great, Rachel. It's impressive how far you've come in such a short time." She nodded, looking at her sleeping daughter. "It's for her. Everything is for her." Michael realized that wasn't entirely true. "It has to be for you too, Rachel. Emily needs a mom who values herself, who takes care of herself, not just of her." Rachel absorbed his words, reflecting, "You're right. I'm learning that in therapy, that I can't be good for her if I'm not good to myself first." She opened the car door. "Thank you for today, Michael. For everything." After dropping Rachel off, Michael drove back home with Emily, still dozing in the rear seat. He thought about how much things had changed over the past few weeks. What began as a desperate search for a missing mother had turned into a support network, a recovery plan, and, perhaps most surprisingly, a form of unconventional family. Glancing at Emily in the rearview mirror, Michael realized he never could have imagined that a child found on a rainy night would transform his life so completely. Nor did he expect that the mother who abandoned her would become someone for whom he felt so much respect and, yes, affection. The future was still uncertain. Rachel's path to recovery would be long and likely fraught with obstacles. The custody arrangements would eventually need revisiting, and Michael's own role in both their lives would continue to evolve. But in that moment, driving through the city with Emily sleeping soundly in his care, Michael felt a certainty he had rarely experienced. Whatever challenges lay ahead, they would face them together, not as a conventional family, perhaps, but as people who had chosen to care for each other, something stronger than mere coincidence. When they arrived home, Michael gently carried Emily to her room. As he pulled the comforter over her and placed Mr. Chocolate at her side, he thought about the promise he had made her weeks ago, that she would always have a safe harbor. Looking at Emily's peaceful face, asleep amidst the curls so reminiscent of Rachel's, Michael knew he would do anything to keep that promise. And now it extended not just to Emily, but to the mother who was fighting so bravely to rebuild her life. On the bedside table lay Emily's most recent drawing, 3 stick figures under a smiling sun, a small one between 2 taller ones, all holding hands. Below it, in a child's handwriting, were the words, "My family." Michael smiled, switched off the light, and gently closed the door. Yes, a family. Not a conventional one, not planned, but a real one. And that, he thought, was all that mattered. The seasons changed, winter passed, and spring brought new colors to the city. 8 months after Michael's encounter with Rachel, the day everyone had been waiting for finally arrived. In the clinic's meeting room, sitting around the table, were Michael, Rachel, Dr. Martinez, and a social worker. "It is with great pleasure that we officially confirm Rachel is now fit to assume full custody of Emily again," announced the social worker, stamping the final paperwork in front of her. "The progress we've witnessed over these months is truly remarkable." Rachel clasped her hands together, trying to contain her emotions. Wearing simple but neat clothes, with well-groomed hair and a calm expression, she was almost unrecognizable from the desperate woman Michael had once found searching through trash. "Thank you," she said, her voice steady. "I know many people doubted we'd get here, including me at times." Dr. Martinez smiled. "You did the hardest work, Rachel. You faced your demons, stuck to the treatment, and rebuilt your life step by step. Most of the credit goes to you." Michael watched with mixed feelings. On one hand, he was genuinely happy for Rachel's progress and the chance for Emily to grow up with her mother. On the other, he couldn't deny a pang of sadness when he thought about how his own routine would change. For months, his life had revolved around Emily, and the idea of not seeing her every day left a void he didn't want to acknowledge. "Michael has been crucial in this process," Rachel said, as though sensing his thoughts. "Without him, none of this would have been possible." "That's true," the social worker agreed. "Which is why the transitional plan you both proposed makes a lot of sense. Emily will primarily live with Rachel in her new apartment, but continue to have regular contact with Michael, including alternating weekends." That arrangement had been Rachel's idea. Instead of a sudden separation, she proposed a transition allowing Emily to maintain her bond with Michael, acknowledging the vital role he had assumed in her daughter's life. After the meeting, Michael drove back to his apartment, where Emily waited excitedly with Mrs. Martinez. She had been prepared for the move, but this was the official day her mother would come to pick her up, starting a new chapter. "She's repacked her bag 3 times, the babysitter said with a grin. "She's very excited." Emily ran to Michael as soon as she saw him come in. "Is Mom coming soon?" she asked, her eyes shining with anticipation. "In a little while," he answered, kneeling down to her level. She went to buy some flowers to celebrate this special day. Emily smiled, revealing the brand new teeth that had replaced some of her baby teeth in recent months. "Michael, you're going to visit us, right?" she asked, a flicker of worry crossing her face. "Of course I will. Remember what we talked about. You'll live with your mum, but you'll come spend weekends with me and I can visit you both whenever I want. It's not goodbye. It's just a different way of being together." Emily seemed to process the information, nodding slowly. "Like when Mom was in the hospital but we still saw her." "Exactly," Michael confirmed, again struck by her understanding. The doorbell rang, announcing Rachel's arrival. Emily dashed to the door while Michael stood up, taking a deep breath to steady his emotions. Even with all the preparations, this moment was not easy. Rachel entered carrying a small bouquet of colorful flowers. She wore a simple dress that showed off her regained health, cheeks filled out, posture upright, eyes alert and clear. She was unrecognizable compared to the woman Michael had first encountered those months ago. "I brought something for you," she said, handing the bouquet to Emily. "To celebrate our new beginning." Emily took the flowers carefully, then set them on the table so she could properly hug her mother. Rachel wrapped her arms around her, closing her eyes for a moment, as if she wanted to memorize every detail of this instant. When they let go, Rachel knelt in front of Emily, holding her small hands. "Emily, I know we've talked about this, but I want to say it again, looking into your eyes," she began, her voice tight with emotion. "I'm so sorry I left you that rainy night. It was the hardest choice I've ever made, and my heart broke when I walked away. I was sick and scared I couldn't keep you safe." Emily listened closely, her big eyes locked on her mother. "But now," Rachel continued, tears rolling down her cheeks, "I promise I will never leave you again. I will take care of you with all the love in the world, every single day. And if I ever start feeling bad again, I know exactly what to do to get better so we can stay together." Emily touched her mother's face, gently wiping away a tear. "It's okay, Mom. Michael said you were sick, but now you're better." Rachel nodded, looking momentarily at Michael with gratitude. "Yes, I'm better now. And we're going to be okay, you and me, and Michael too, because he's part of our family now." After a few minutes for Emily to gather her last belongings, including, of course, Mr. Chocolate and his friend Lola, they were ready to leave. Rachel had rented a comfortable apartment just 15 minutes from Michael's place, making it easy for the frequent visits they planned. At the door, Rachel turned to Michael. "There aren't enough words to thank you," she said, her voice trembling with emotion. "You didn't just look after Emily. You gave me a second chance when even I didn't believe I deserved one. You saved not just one life, but two." Michael felt a lump in his throat. "You both saved mine, in a way," he replied sincerely. "Before Emily, I had a house, not a home. Money, not purpose." Rachel embraced him, a hug that conveyed a gratitude beyond words. When she pulled away, her eyes shone with restrained tears. "We'll always be part of each other's lives now. Emily needs both of us." Emily, watching the two, tugged her mother's hand. "Is it forever now?" she asked softly, looking from one to the other. "Are we going to be a family forever?" Rachel lifted her daughter into her arms with a strength she hadn't possessed in a long time. "Yes, my love," she answered, tears now flowing freely. "Now it's forever." Michael stepped closer, wrapping both of them in an embrace. It wasn't just the end of a difficult journey, but the beginning of a new life for all three. A family forged not by blood or convention, but by the storms of life that bound them in ways none could have foreseen. As he watched Rachel's car drive away, Emily waving excitedly from the back window, Michael felt a peace he had never known before. The apartment would be empty tonight, but his heart, strangely, was fuller than ever. Because sometimes, the family we find along the way is just as important as the one we're born into. And sometimes, in the darkest and rainiest nights, we find the light that will illuminate the rest of our lives, forever. If this story touched your heart, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next ones. Leave a like, because it helps this story get recommended to more people. See you in the next story.